Hey everyone, this is Casey Stubbs with the How to Trade It podcast, and today I'm with Hugh Grossman from the Day Trade Spy. I'm really excited to have Hugh on. I talked to him recently, and he's got a lot of great stuff to share. He's an interesting guy. He's doing some really good things over at Day Trade Spy. So, Hugh, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you. I hope I live up to those accolades you're spouting out there. that's a tall order, but thank you so much. Yes, I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, you definitely will. So everyone that's listening on, make sure you guys pay attention because he's going to be dropping some really great info for you today. So, Hugh, give me a little bit of background on yourself. Tell me a little bit how you got interested in trading, and let's just start from that.
Thanks for asking. That's a good question, Casey. I don't know of anybody. Well, there's a few people, obviously, from listening to your show and watching your podcast, that there are some people who actually started at a very young age who really got into this, which is really incredible. I was never one of them. Now, I did dabble in stocks years and years and years ago, in 1980s, I guess it was. But I was an internal auditor, and like the good salaried employee, I used to hand over a lot of my money to my financial guru to invest in my future, in my retirement. Now, the irony is, as an internal auditor, you think that I would have been on top of that, right? But no, no, no. What's that saying? The dentist's kids got the worst teeth. I would get these statements. I just, pack them away. Don't bother looking at them. I mean, that's for the future. And my friend Mike, he's got my back, right? And then one day I thought I better open this up and just see how much money I have and how pleasantly surprised I'm going to be. I got to tell you, I was shocked at how little I had. About half of my account was blown out that I had put into this thing. And I didn't even want to start, figuring out how little I had been working then per hour if I was to look at it like that. But I readily called him on this and said, Mike, what's going on? I should have been on top of it. It's my fault. And he's trying to keep my account. I could tell, he's afraid of my call, but we exchanged a few words, and I pretty well demanded that he just cut me a check for whatever I had left, and I'll be by the next day to pick it up, which is what I did. And I figured, you know what? I'm comfortable with risk. I'm pretty good with numbers, obviously. Why couldn't I do this myself? We have the power of the internet. I have the information just as much as anybody else. And you know what? The other thing is that nobody should be more interested in my own money than me. And that was a revelation. And that was a revelation. And that's when that big wake-up call comes. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I took my my money, what little was left, and I figured, okay, I'm on a mission. I'm going to figure this out myself, learn how to do this myself. And that's kind of the start of it. So I went to all these different courses, and oh my gosh, you name it, I've probably been there. And I learned a few things in those courses. Mostly, they're just trying to upsell you on other courses. And I would ask questions, hard questions, things like, so, Mr. Presenter, you trade this yourself? And invariably, they all said, oh, no, I don't trade. It's too risky. I'm just a presenter. You name it. They gave me an excuse to that. And that's usually when I just closed up my books. I'm out of here. If you're not going to trade it, why should I, right? And but I did know there was a lot of money in trading. I started with equities. I looked at futures, options, Forex, all these things. And I kept coming back to options. I really felt very comfortable with options. So I came back to options, and I got pretty good at it. And the rest is history. I mean, if you want me to keep going, what I did was I actually started trading a lot of different companies, and then I discovered SPY, SPY, the single stock that follows the S&P 500. And what I discovered was that you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours looking at all your sectors and stocks and this and that. All you have to do is just kind of figure out, where is the economy going to go today, up or down, or sideways. And all you have to do is just get it right a little bit. And there's a lot of money with the leverage of options. You can actually make some pretty good money without a lot of move. And I really got pretty good at it. And then all my friends and family, associates, neighbors, everybody saw that I was bringing home the toys. So they asked me, okay, Hugh, what's going on? You're obviously onto something. Nothing seems to bother you. The price of gas goes up. You're not bothered. The price of groceries, taxes, nothing. You're just you're not even going to work anymore every day. What's going on? So, well, I'm trading SPY options. So they coerced me into putting it up on the internet as to what I'm actually looking to trade every day. And that's really where it started. And I'm going to tell you something, Casey. It was exactly 10 years ago yesterday, that we hit our 10, that's when we started the business, 10 years ago yesterday. So we're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks.
Congratulations. I actually am on your list, so I got an email with an invitation to your celebration. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations. Great job. What's your celebration going to be?
We're going to have a webinar on Tuesday, May the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm inviting everybody to come on it. We're going to have some very cool specials we're going to do. I haven't figured out quite the freebies yet on that, but we're going to give you some pretty cool stuff. Believe me, it's going to be worth your hour to be on that.
Okay,
for sure.
well, after this, make sure you send me the link so I can put it in the description, and we'll make sure that anyone that's listening to the podcast can get it on their podcast notes so they can check it out.
Totally.
Okay,
Totally.
cool.
Sure.
Okay, so back to some questions. Now, you said that you started this options thing and doing pretty good. Were you working, or did you quit? Like, how did the transition go from being an internal auditor to being a trader?
Well, actually, good question. I started it while I was working. I was still dabbling in options while I was working, and it was pretty funny because my cohorts, my coworkers, even my boss would show up at my office first thing in the morning to see what I'm doing. And there's a lot of interest around that. And eventually I was making more money trading than I was working. And that went on for a while. Finally, I said to my boss, I said, "Hey, Don, listen, what would you do? My heart's not in my job anymore. I'm sorry." You can see why, right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Listen, I'm probably not far behind you. If what you're doing is working." I said, "Well, it's so far, and it's risky. I'm not going to kid you. There's a high risk factor with what we are doing." But I asked him, I said, excuse me, I said, "If it doesn't work out for me, can I come back?" He said, no, once you're gone, you're gone. But I had enough confidence and faith in my abilities to continue and manage my position. So eventually they had a little party for me, and off I went. I was an options trader. What can I say?
Well, that's the best way to do it, I think, because you got a little bit of security because you've built up a successful track record there. Well, that's pretty exciting. So, the title of today's show is "Earn 5% a Day with the Spy." So I thought that was an appropriate title, considering you as the spy trader. Tell me a little bit about how that actually works and how you're looking for 5% targets.
Absolutely. Just clear my throat. I've been talking all morning. So first of all, to be clear, it's 5% of the money you have invested in the trade. It's not 5% of all of the money that you possess. Okay. So if you put in $1,000, expect to make $50, excluding commissions. Now, actually, we include commissions too, because the way we trade, we sort of include that in there. So I have a pretty cool little strategy. I call my bread and butter strategy. Now, I mean, I'd like to tell you what the details are. I can give you just a very brief overview, but I want you to understand that you're never going to run across one ebook or CD or DVD or webinar or anything that's going to give you that magic bullet, and all of a sudden you're going off to become an expert trader. But basically, I follow some very simple key indicators, and when those key indicators line up, then you enter the trade. Okay, so I'm actually looking at the 15, 5, and the 1 minute charts. And I'll tell you, just again, very briefly, I'm looking at some EMAs, exponential moving averages. I'm looking at MACDs and stochastics. So my philosophy on this is really simple, and it is to keep it simple. And you've probably heard this many times, Casey. The simpler you can keep it, the better. Now, I want to kind of step back a little bit and tell you, I blew up my account probably a dozen times, if not more, as do all traders, I'm sure. I'm positive. Okay. That comes to everybody through a lot of trials and tribulations. Believe nobody is born a great trader. At least I haven't found them. But every time I blew up my account, I always kept coming back, and I would pore over the charts for hours and hours at a time. Hours. My wife would come in and wonder, "What are you looking at anyway? What are you seeing?" And I'd say, "What's your name again?" Sorry, I was I couldn't believe it. I mean, yes, I would spend hours, and I would always look and see, look at this. And I would look at the lows and highs of these options every day. And I would see numbers for the lows and highs, say 5 cents for low and, $2 for a high. Wow. $5 for a high, these kinds of numbers on a lot of these option chains. I thought to myself, I'm not trying to get hundreds or thousands of percent a day. I'm just trying to get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8%. Is that hard to do? You just got to figure this out a little bit. What is this thing? Options, they go up and they go down, and they go up and down many times a day. Why is it so hard to make a lot of money? Even though most traders lose in this business, there's got to be a way of making money. So I come back to it. I ramp up my account, do it again, try the strategy a little bit differently. And before you knew it, I started making some pretty good money. But I would invoke three things: technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and psychological analysis. So I would combine these things and see, okay, well, where's the market sentiment? Is it really, really bad? Is it really negative? What kind of talk is there out there with the market? Is it really negative, or is it sort of positiveness? If there's a little bit of positiveness, well, how does the market react? It seems to go up a lot if there's just a little bit of good news in a bad news time. I'd look at the technicals. I'd always look at support and resistance and chart trends and patterns and different things. And I would not need all of that. And I mean, there are many books, as you know, out there on just say chart patterns. You don't need to know 100 different chart patterns. You just need to know a good handful that really work well. And that's what I did. So I really honed this skill. It's a very laser beam skill. We're not looking to trade a lot of stuff. We're just looking to very, very laser beam into SPY options, day trading SPY options, with a modest gain on a regular basis that you can do several times or a number of times during the day. And if you were to make 5% per trade and you did that, say, 4 times, Casey, you're making 20%. What's wrong with that? If you make 5% a day, once a day for 20 days, for a month, you've essentially doubled your trading dollars in a month. It's that easy. I don't want to say it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Right. So when you're looking at the sentiment, and just from hearing that little section, my mind is turning. Like I already have like 4 questions. So if I get carried away, let me know. But when you're looking at the sentiment, you're just like, well, what's the sentiment? How do you gauge that? Because I can hear negative and positive things going on all the time. So I don't really know how do you determine what the proper sentiment is?
Absolutely. Good question. Good question. And to just step back a bit, I want to explain that trading successfully and becoming a great trader is actually a process that takes a long time. So there's this thing I'm going to call gut feel. After a while, you're going to just absorb all of the news and see how the market reacts to these things. I can't put my finger on it and say, if this news item is negative, then the sentiment is negative. If that news is positive, then it's positive. I look at a number of news feeds. I try and absorb as many news feeds as I possibly can, and I try and gauge. Okay, so how are they talking? Are they talking doom and gloom? And if they are, and the technical has dropped down like it did this morning, and I don't have the exact numbers handy now, but if the market dropped down like it did, I mean, we lost about $5 from the high in pre-market today, and it dropped down. So the market's very negative sentiment. But there must have been some good news, because we hit a bottom and we bounced around a little bit. So we found some level of support. And then there was this thing called filling in of the gap and this and that and a few other little things. I thought, you know what, the market's going to go up today. It's going to go up today. So in my inner circle report, this is a report I send out every morning at about 9 o'clock Eastern time. I said, I'm looking to go to the upside. And I actually had 2 or 3 emails coming in. Hugh, are you crazy? Don't you see what's going on? I didn't even respond to them, because I will later. I'll say, it's not where the market has been or where it even is.
Just tell them, look, I'm the guru. Just shut up.
I'm not. Believe me, I'm just an average guy. But I'm trying to gauge. So the market's gone into this very negative sentiment for some reason, probably because of the coronavirus and they're trying to reopen the economies worldwide, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're expecting a second wave, and a lot of real negative stuff going on. But there's going to be a little bit of good news coming up somewhere that is going to move the market, and the market actually likes to hear good news. And if you leave things alone, the markets gravitate up. Okay. There's some real good kernels in this stuff, guys. All right. If you leave things alone, it's going to gravitate up. If you notice that the market goes down, it always goes down for a reason. And once the market absorbs that reason, it starts to, hey, there's still food in the fridge. I'm still breathing. I still have gas in the car. I'm okay. I'm still healthy. And the market starts to go up. And that's kind of what I bank on. And it works.
Okay, so the answer in review is you got a gut feel. You process the information, but that experience has really helped you make those decisions, and you just kind of it's kind of like an automatic process, kind of like driving, right? Like when you're driving, like I know that when I'm on my way home from work, I'll be halfway home and I don't even remember what I did. It's almost like just autopilot.
Exactly true. And you know what? It sounds like a vague answer, but it's really not. And the more you do this, and I really highly recommend, no matter how experienced you are, do paper trading, folks. Do paper trading. I don't care how many years you've been trading, do paper trading with the system, because that's where you're going to develop this feel for the market and feel for where the stock is. Every stock has its own personality, its own character, and how it reacts to news. It doesn't matter what stock you're talking about, but SPY has a very unique personality. And once you understand how it works, you can work with it and actually can turn it right back into your favor and make some pretty serious money on the stock. Pretty cool.
Excellent. So when you're talking about options, and you're talking about on the SPY, how are you actually taking those trades? Because there's so many different ways to take options trades.
We keep it simple again. And I've done those spreads and I've done the naked position. Believe me, get away from that. It's very easy. Buy and sell, calls and puts. Buy first and then sell. So when I look at the setup, and I'm pretty confident with the setup, and I use this thing I call the yellow brick road, which is an extension of chart patterns that I see. It's
Sounds
uncanny
like the
how
Wizard of Oz.
it is. I don't hold the actually one of my clients actually coined that phrase,
Yeah.
and it kind of stuck. So I have no trademark on that name, believe me. But it's kind of cool when you can actually plot that yellow broken line, and the market actually follows it. And it's actually really cool. And then, of course, you set your target prices. You see where you are with your resistance levels. For example, if you're going to the upside, which is exactly what we've done today, and we pulled in 6.1% in 10 minutes on the 291 calls. So, and this happens a lot. Like, I don't want to say every day. I don't want to use superlatives because there's never any, superlatives, but it happens an awful lot. And it's
More than
actually,
it doesn't.
oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. So in answer to your question, the more you are with a program, and whether it's this program or anything that you find that is working for you, that you really enjoy, that fits your style, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. Tweak it as necessary. All right. And I'm not saying my program works for everybody. It works great for me. It might not work for you. You know what do they say? One man's poison is another man's medicine, or whatever the saying is. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But tweak it and work with it and really develop a very close relationship with that strategy, with that stock, and with your mentor. Okay, because I think it's invaluable to have a good mentor. Honestly, I really do. And I'm not saying it because I'm one. Honestly, I wish Casey, I swear, I wish I had a Hugh back in those days. What I went through to learn this stuff, I can't begin to tell you how much money I lost, how much time and effort I went through, but it was well worth it because now it's obviously paying off.
Yeah, I'm actually a very big believer in mentors as well. I have had a lot of mentors in my life, and I still do. And I probably will always try to have mentors just because there's always people that are a lot further along than me and they're a lot smarter than me, and they can always help me. And if I'm willing to listen, which is something that has been hard for me to learn, because sometimes even though I'm not as smart as someone else, sometimes I think my way is the better way, and I learn that it's not. But being a mentor is great. So how would you recommend even finding a mentor or working with somebody in these days?
There are a lot of them out there now, probably more than ever before. And I'm sure there are a lot of good ones. I don't follow anybody anymore. In fact, some follow me, but I had to throw that in because it's just a little plug for some of these guys, and I hope they do well, and I know they are. But first thing I would suggest is find a strategy that kind of fits your style, your budgets, your style of trading. Now, by that I mean if you are able to sit in front of a computer all day, that's one thing. But a lot of people are still, say, working, and they can only get that first hour of the day. That matters. Okay, that matters. So find a system that you're comfortable with. If you really like to do a lot of analyses all the time and look at stocks and sectors and everything else, well, maybe this isn't for you. I get in front of my computer now at 8:30 in the morning. That's all I do, and I pull up certain key things and stocks and the charts, and I get in there and I do my analysis real quick, and I can quickly determine which way the stock's going to go, up or down. That's all I want to know. So, in answer to the finding your right coach, do a lot of research, and don't just jump right in and spend a lot of money, and then you only to find out that this isn't really working for me. I don't know if you've gone through this, but I certainly have on a lot of occasions. And just asked my wife a few years ago. I cleaned out my closet. I had all these programs up on the shelf, many of them not even open. And my wife has an incredible random access memory. She'll tell me, you spent exactly $5,977 on that one, and 6,204. She remembers everything to the penny. And she said, why are you throwing that out? I said, well, I'm not using it. I've got something that's better than that. But I've gone through a lot of programs where I would take them home. They'd be very enticing to buy at the show or wherever I got them. I'd take them home, and then you open it up, you kind of get into it. So it's not really working for me. I don't understand it. Who do I call? I'm calling for tech support. I'm getting some crony you've never heard of. It's very difficult. So I never really, I kind of got away from that. Do your research. When you find somebody, ask them some real hard questions like, does your coach trade his or her strategy? And if they say no, run for the hills. Don't walk, run. You don't want that. Because if a strategy is worth anything at all, they should be trading it. I can assure you that I trade my strategy. I trade what I teach, and I teach what I trade. I think that is really vital. That's a very important one. Another one is where does your coach derive his income? Is it from trading or training or both? Quite frankly, I get both. All right, I get both. Part of the reason is when your houses and cars and kids' educations and different things are paid for, you just don't need to go out on risk that much to show people things. And like my wife told me a couple of years ago, she said, why do you always keep trading real money? They don't care about your trades, Hugh. They care about their own trades. Why don't you focus on them instead of yourself? And I said, that's a good idea, So I do a lot of my trading on a simulated platform, and also to show them things. So we will often, in our trading room every morning, we'll often throw in a trade in a spin on purpose, just to see how to get out of it in a repair mode. It's kind of like, if I can use the analogy, when I took flying lessons, we would practice our stalls and spins and dives and all that stuff. Why do we do that? Because it's so much fun. Come on, is there any safety in strapping yourself into a metal tube and hurling yourself through the air at 100 miles an hour? Of course not. But you practice those things so that if you ever inadvertently find yourself in a situation, that you can instinctively get out of it without breaking a sweat. And that's why we get into repairing trades in a bad position, so we can repair them. So if you are in a bad position, you're going to feel okay. You're not going to get panicked and deer in the headlights, and then all of a sudden you lost all your money. So ask that question. I do make a lot of my money in both trading and training. It's a good mix. Some days I'll trade a lot of, some days I won't trade at all. Another question, does your mentor ever lose money? If they ever say no, run again. They're lying to you. All mentors will lose money from time to time. I don't care how good you are, you will lose money. Is your mentor empathetic? In other words, are they listening to you? Are they identifying what your goals are, your aspirations, what you're looking to get out of this? Because if they're just talking about how great they are and, I won this award and that award, who cares?
Right.
I want to know, Casey, what do you want? What are you? And I will tell you, believe it or not, I like to meet my people first. So we'll have these 15, 20-minute introductory sessions first. It don't cost anything. I just want to know who you are. And if I sense that this is not going to work for you, I'll tell you. I will tell you. I'll say, Casey, you know what? Save your money. It's not going to work for you. And here's why I don't think it's going to work for you. Let's put it that way. I'll give you an example. I did some one-on-one sessions with a lawyer. And it was actually pretty funny. About second or third session into it, he's asked me questions about, how do you calculate percentages again? And I said to him, Sean, I think you should really reconsider this. I think you're a very good lawyer, probably, but you're not comfortable with numbers. I sense that right at the beginning. And the questions you're asking me, this whole thing is numbers. I mean, it's all numbers. And so you see, I think you're right, Hugh. I think you're right. So we cut it off at that point. And actually, some months later, he actually contacted me to thank me for doing that, because I probably saved him a lot of money. So you want to make sure that, is your coach accessible? By that, I mean, if they email me, are they going to get a response in a short period of time, or are they going to wait for days until it's too late, or they're going to get an email back from a crony who doesn't know what they're talking about? They have to be there. Now, we only take as many clients as we can handle, sort of on that one-on-one basis. Okay. And if we get overwhelmed, because I don't want people waiting for weeks to get an appointment with me, you know what I'm saying, you should be able to get an appointment like pretty quick. And that's kind of what we do. Are their costs reasonable? I mean, you can't ignore the fact that there's going to be a cost involved. But I also want people to know that reasonable is the operative word there, Casey, not cheap. If they're cheap, there's a reason they're cheap. If they're really priced way too expensive, now you're worried so much about making those mega bucks, and it's probably, they might get one or two a year, or sometime in their career, paying you mega bucks. Is it going to be worth it? Maybe not. So you want to kind of keep it in line. We charge reasonable rates. I think reasonable rates, and I think it's important to kind of just see if that works for you. Don't try to negotiate it, because coaches don't like to be negotiated down. You know what I'm saying? Then they're not going to want to give you their all. And I want to give you more than my all. I really want to give you more than my all. Do they live in the past? Do they talk about, well, if only you bought down here and sold up there? You ever get that? And you say, yeah, and did you know that was the bottom and that was the top at the time? Did you know that was the bottom? Because I sure didn't. How did you know that was at the bottom? And did you buy it at the bottom and sold for the top? That's looking back. You can't go back. You only see that at the end of the day. All right. And so if they talk like that, then they're probably not trading their system, because they wouldn't have known that information. Do they accept responsibility for their own trades? In other words, do they post their loser trades if they have any, or when they have them, I should say? We do. I'll post it all. I don't care. This is what it is. There's no sense in sugarcoating it or cherry picking what you're showing here. That doesn't do anybody any good. So these are the questions. These are just a few questions. Think of all these questions. Will they give you time? Will they give you time even before you give them a penny? That's really important. We like to help as many people as possible. At some point, obviously, okay, we're going to engage here, then let's do it. But don't take advantage of them, but certainly ask them lots of questions. Get some. And how do you get along with your coach? I think that's really important. I've had some very arrogant type coaches in the past, as I'm sure you probably have. And it's hard to deal with that. Geez, my gosh, Mr. Coach, you're so full of yourself. I'm trying to learn how to trade. Going back to my flying analogy, I just want to say this too before I kind of get off this topic. In the flight school close to ours, there was a flight instructor who was so obnoxious, and I know that some of the students were so turned off on flying that they wanted to have nothing to do with flying after they kind of went through this guy. And we would talk to them and say, well, come over to our flight school. Maybe you'll have a better experience. But I think if you have a bad coach, you could actually be turned off trading totally. And you don't want that. So find out first if you actually kind of get along with the person, and I think that's really important too.
Now, you were talking about flying. Are you a pilot also?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. When did you start doing that?
Private pilot. Oh, many years ago. Actually, I was in my 40s, I think. I kind of got into it late. I always wanted to be a pilot, and my brother's a pilot, and my son's a pilot, and so it's in the blood. But life gets in the way, and you don't always get to do the things that you want to do until later in life, and you have the time and money. It's hard to get both. So I thought, just do it. And I probably still hold the record of having the number of hours before going solo, And I'll tell you, there's another analogy I want to use on that. I was good at taking off and doing all the air work, no problem. But you know what, Casey, I couldn't land that plane to save my life. I would just kind of fall out of the sky, find my way, usually onto the runway, sometimes beside the runway in the grass. Or, I even blew out a tire once. And I remember my instructor saying, okay, the first tire we'll pay for. After that, you're going to pay for any damage. And I asked him, I said, look, am I ever going to learn this landing business? He said, yes, you will. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't forget your setup starts 5 miles away, and vision where the plane's going to go, and the speed and the altitude and the attitude and all these things. And one day it's going to click. And he was absolutely right. One day, and by the way, all the runways have numbers. Okay. One day I just landed on the number, but I didn't even realize I had landed. It was what they call a greaser. I looked down, I saw my wheels spinning. Oh, I'm on the ground. Okay, that's cool. And it was at that point that suddenly it was never an issue anymore. And it didn't matter if it was crosswind, direct wind, downwind, upwind. You know, every one of my landings was perfect. And not every one, most of them were, most of them. But it was nothing like it was before. We just kind of flop along and you plop down on the runway. You know, it was just a mess. It was actually very embarrassing. So the same with trading. You know, paper trade, paper trade, paper trade. One day you're going to look back and by the way, log your trades. One day you're going to look back and say, oh, yes, I just did 30, 40 good paper trades. I think I'm onto it. I don't know where I learned. I don't know where it kind of snapped and I figured it out, but somewhere along the line, I kind of picked it up. I got some repairs in there. I took some losers, turned them into winners, whatever. So it kind of worked. And that's the way it's going to be with trading.
Okay, that's a great analogy. You got to land that plane. You got to close that trade.
You know what? Takeoffs are optionals. Landings are mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't close it at the right time, you can have a big crash.
You got it.
Yeah. So I still have a couple little things rolling around up here that I want to ask you, just in regards to the strategy and trading. So you were talking about you'd like to get in at 8:30 and do your pre-market analysis and look and get an idea of what you think is going to happen on that day. On average, how much actual trading time are you putting behind the charts every day?
You mean study time to see?
Well, just like actual trading. So and including your study time as well, like the whole trading day from start to finish.
Oh yeah. Well, I get in front of my computer at about 8:30. Okay, coffee in hand, and I look at the charts. I look at the news. I pull up various news feeds. Among others, I've got oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch. There's Forex Factory, which gives you a really good schedule of upcoming news items. I look at Fox News. I look at CNN. It moves the market. Call it what you want, but they move market. Okay, as long as people look at these things, they will move markets. I look at bar chart. There's a few others. I quickly scan. Okay, I don't necessarily get into the detail. I just scan, and in various news stories, I'll see and I'll look at the technicals. I'll get into the technicals in a big way. So okay, so we had a big drop. We dropped, for example, this morning, an interesting day today because we actually gapped up from the close of Friday in pre-market, and we hit a high that we haven't seen in a long time, and then we dropped. We dropped about $5 before the market opened this morning, but we bounced around, found some support, and we were actually under Friday's close. So I took a look at that. And I thought, okay, let's see, we're bouncing around off that support. There's going to be a chart pattern forming here on the medium longer term. When I say long term, I'm talking about 15 minutes. I also look at the 30-minute, hourly, and daily charts. Okay, so I will analyze that. We were still over the 10 and 20 EMAs on the daily chart, and the hourly was doing what it's doing, sort of bouncing around, and so was the 30-minute, 15-minute. I look at that as well, and then I saw I think this is going to go up. So then I issue my inner circle report. I say, here's what I see, which is a very brief summary. So if I can maybe use this analogy, those people in the inner circle, they get a flash assessment of the way I see the market unfolding for the rest of the day. That's at 9 o'clock. Our trading room would be like a streaming video as to what's actually happening, real time, live. Okay, it's happening. And then I get ready, and then we do our trading room at 9:20. We get on. And we determine, okay, is it going to go up or down today? Here's why I think it's going to go up. Here's why I think it's going to go down. And based on the news and the upcoming news that's happened and the market sentiment. And then we look for the setup, and then we get in, make our trade, put the sell order in right away, get out, and then make our profit, get on with the rest of our day. Like I say, today we're actually done by 9:46.
So today was about an hour then, an hour and 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah. Now, the reality is I love to teach people, so I'm actually doing this all day long with people one-on-one and that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, I don't have to. And some days I don't. Some days I like to get off and just take off and spend time with my wife and family and stuff. These days we're spending a lot of time together. But it's pretty good. And I'll tell you, these days, this is actually a really cool thing to do if you are stuck inside. You might as well make it productive, folks. I'm not kidding you. There's only so much Netflix you can see. But I like Netflix as much as anybody else. But if you can make this time productive and actually learn a skill you can carry for the rest of your life and pass on to your kids and your family, Casey, I don't know about you, but I've got a couple adult kids that know how to trade, and it is so liberating to know that they will always know how to go to the market and make whatever money they need, as long as they have a little seed capital and kind of have their wits about them. And here's the other thing: what we teach, all right, if you understand options, and it's not that complicated, you demystify them. Most people don't know that. They think there's some mystery, something behind this. It's some kind of magic or something. And you don't have to be that great. You just have to be better than most of the people out there, because you're actually taking money from their account and putting it into yours. If I can be so crude, but that's the way it is. And if you don't take it, somebody else will. So you might as well be the one that's going to be the pro, right? The expert.
Okay, well, when you talk about stuff to do after you're done trading, other than when you're all locked up, what do you like to do for fun?
I like to hang out at the beach. I do enjoy, that. And I like to go boating, and I like to go flying whenever I can. And I like to just go bike riding and just kind of enjoy the outdoors. At 65 years of age, I also have two grandkids, a third one on the way. So I like to spend time with them and just hang out with my friends and family. Used to be when we were able to get together in coffee shops. We would assemble every morning. There'd be a couple of us, two or three or four of us, that would get together and really kind of enjoy that. But that's kind of come to an end right now for a while anyway. So I also like to read a lot, and I cannot go long without reading a book or a magazine, newspaper. I'm just an avid reader. Anything I can get my hands on. So,
Well, those are some great things to do, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of that very soon. And I'm thinking that is going to be the case, so that's going to be great. Well, I actually have some more questions, but I'm going to hold off because they say that you always want to leave them wanting more, right? So I don't want to just uncover everything right now. But this has been great information, great training. Thanks for sharing so much. Hugh, tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you and what your website is, and how they can get access to all your good stuff.
Great. Thanks for asking, Casey. Our website is called daytradespy.com. Daytradespy, all one word, daytradespy.com. Very simple. It's what we do. And you can contact us through there. Very simple. We got all kinds of links to go to that. And we have several programs that would really be enticing to anybody. And like I said, we have a big webinar coming up on the 26th of May, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, as we celebrate our 10th anniversary. There'll be some goodies given away. And I'm also looking to give you guys a little bit of a gift for being here and right to the end. And I will send you an ebook. Actually, I think you're going to kind of like this ebook. It's an ebook that's called Triumphs and Tragedies. Now, these are true stories of some clients that I had over the years. I didn't start writing this until several years ago, and I thought, you know what? There's a lot of great stories that have come through, a lot of great people. I've had some really good success stories, and I've had some dismal failures too. So I've got a good mix of both in this book. And every year I add to it. I'm not sure how many we're up to right now, but it's a pretty good book, an easy read. And I think your people are going to really like it. And I'm going to make sure you have a copy too, Casey. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's called Triumphs and Tragedies. Watch for it. I'm not sure how you're going to distribute this.
I'll put it in the link in the description for the show notes.
Oh,
so
awesome.
You'll have that. And so everybody, that actually sounds really good.
It is. And you might see yourself in there. In fact, there's a story about me in there too. It's a tragedy. Okay.
Well, you're still with us, so I'm glad I know the end result.
It's a high risk. This is a high risk thing to do, and I don't want anybody to think it's a get rich, thing you're gonna get to with no work or no money, and
right.
It's very important that you understand that. So, but I'm really thankful for your opportunity to have this little chat with you. It's really
It's been really good. And one other thing I wanted to just mention while it just popped into my head, Hugh's got a really great commercial that he put out promoting his amazing services. It's I linked to it actually in the video, so you guys will see that. I recommend everybody go check it out. I'm not going to give you the way the details, but it's really well done, and that's going to be in the show notes too. His
Awesome.
recent commercial. But anyways, that's it for today. Hugh, thanks a lot, and for everybody that's listening, just go ahead and hit that like button on the channel so you can get notified of our next guest and next show, and also so you can see what's going on with Hugh, and we're going to give you updates, and so you can get access to his ebook and his webinar and all those other things. So until next time, thanks for listening to the How to Trade It podcast.
Thanks, Casey. Been a pleasure.